All right, we are live. It is Tuesday night. I'm losing track of the days. I'm excited. I'm going back to subscriber spotlight. Haven't done one of these in a while. I've been goofing off with Brad and Flippin' Steve and some of these other goofballs. But I'm excited to have a guy that's actually been watching my channel for a long time, and he has a channel as well. I've been watching his as well. But I'm excited to kind of go back to this format. This is going to be good. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Devon. What's going on, brother?
What's up, man? Dude, it's great to be here, Dustin.
Absolutely.
Really happy to be here, man. This is exciting.
I feel like this is a while in the making too, because we had gone kind of back and forth on this a couple of months ago too, I think. And then it just didn't, it didn't happen for whatever reason. And then you had come back to me, I think last week or last couple of weeks. And I'm really glad that we were able to make this work.
Yeah, me too. I've been watching your channel for a long time and seen you grow, and it's really amazing how big you've gotten. And I'm really just happy to see where you've got to. And I've been watching a lot of your videos as of late too. You and Brad are a good pair. I gotta say, you guys do a good job together.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's fun. Cool. So, dude, talk to me. Well, first off, your background. I don't want to. There's so many things I want to talk to you about. Your backdrop. I've got so many questions and so many, things I want to dive into. But let's just kind of start with, how did you get into sports cards? Was it something that you've been into all along, or is it something you did as a kid? You're getting back into it. How did you kind of, get into cards in the first place?
That's a good question. When I was 5 years old, I actually started collecting baseball cards. And it came on a whim of me asking my dad about who Bo Jackson was when I heard his name on the radio. And he told me, oh, he's a baseball player. And interestingly enough, he owned a business, and it was a strip mall building type of business where he rented out two of the storefronts and used one for himself. And one of the storefronts was a baseball card shop. So I'd be in there all the time. And when he told me about Bo Jackson, he said, yeah, go in there and bug George about Bo Jackson. Little did he know he was going to spark me being a baseball collector for my whole life, and had no idea what he was starting. And that's where it started. I even still have my first card. I'm going to show you. It's from like 90. I think it's from like 91. It's an insert.
Is it Upper Deck?
Yeah, I bought it for 75 cents.
That's so funny.
I think it's worth like 50 cents now.
I remember that card. Yeah, I think I might have had that card too. That's a great card.
Yeah, I mean, it caught my eye, and I asked the old man about Bo Jackson, and he pointed in his case, and I had $1. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll take that Bo Jackson for 75 cents. I thought I was making a good investment as a 5-year-old.
You know what? I remember those days. I don't know if you probably do, but in the mall where you had the kiosk there, I felt like there was always a card guy that had a kiosk in the middle, kind of like in the, not necessarily a store in the mall, but one of those kind of like middle of the aisle, kiosk type deals with the card set up.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing. I mean, card shops were big too when I was a kid, but I was just thinking that when you said the strip mall.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's really what got me started. Is I'd be in there bugging the guy all the time, and my mom would give me a couple bucks, and I'd go in there and buy a pack of cards, and it would make me so happy just opening them up. And a lot of times I didn't know the players as a 5, 6, 7-year-old. So I'd ask the guy, hey, can you look at my cards? Tell me if I got any good ones. And he'd always put the good ones on the top, and he'd try to tell me, oh yeah, that's a good player. Hold on to that one. He's going to be worth money someday. And stuff like that. It would get me all like, oh yeah. I get all excited, like, oh, all these cards are going to make me big money when I'm older. And I mean, I still have some of them, and that's not exactly the case, even though I look back and I know he had some Derek Jeter rookie cards, and I could have, if I would have swooped those up and knew that I should have picked those up, I definitely would have. And those were the only ones.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Even in that junk wax era, there are still some gems in there. There's some diamonds in the rough, like that Jeter rookie that you're talking about. Jeter's got some nice stuff. I mean, that's one example. But yeah, I know. I just saw. Let me say hi to a couple of people in the chat here. Stephen Ryan, how you doing? Brian B, good to see you, buddy. Michael Ham, always showing up. Thanks. Raven Invest. How about them Ravens?
Yeah.
That's Michael again. What could have been with Bo Mastradamus? That's so true. So true. Evening, Ziggy. Yeah, the 88 Topps football card rookie of Bo that's also one of my favorite cards too. I have a PSA 8 of that card that I got 3 years ago. I got it for like $30. That was one of the cards when I got back into cards, 3-4 years ago. That was one of the ones that I targeted just because of what Michael's saying. It's just a really cool card. Now, did you stay in it, as like through adulthood, or was it something where you did it as a kid and then you left it and you came back to it?
Well, interestingly enough, I didn't stick with it my whole entire childhood. I transferred. I started with the baseball cards, then dabbled a little bit with basketball and football. I even bought some hockey cards. And then eventually I started collecting Marvel cards and started getting into that, comic books. And I do remember one day as a child, a gentleman came into the old man's store looking for Magic cards. And this was back in 1994. I don't know if you know anything about that. That's when it first started. And I didn't know anything about that as a child, collecting comic book cards and sports cards. But I wish I would have been like, hey, what's that? And then started collecting them, because some of those are worth a lot of money now. I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I haven't. So I never was into Magic the Gathering, but the one YouTube channel I watched to kind of, first off, I just think the guy's entertaining, but he's also like the Magic card wizard, is Rudy at Alpha Investment.
Oh, he's so funny. He's so funny.
Great. Yeah. So I have never bought a Magic card, but just to kind of keep up on what's going on. And I just think he's entertaining and he's smart all the way around with finance stuff. I'll watch Rudy.
Super smart. Yeah. I've watched one of his finance videos and a lot of it just goes right over my head. And I try to take in as much information as I can, but really a lot of it is just really complex information that he tries to dumb down. But even then it's like, man, I'm trying to follow you, Rudy, but he's just really entertaining too. So even if I don't understand, I'm still having a good time laughing at what he has to say. So
absolutely. Yeah. Did you get into Pokemon as well, or not as much?
Pokemon came out while I was playing Magic in the early 90s, and I was kind of too old for that. And man, I wish I would have just been like, I don't care, I'm going to invest in it. But I didn't look at that as a future investment. I looked at it like, that's for kids. Man, I wish I would have thought that. I wish I would have just been like, yeah, I'll buy some of that first edition stuff and sit on that for 20 years. Just didn't have the foresight to do it. But
nobody. I mean, that's the reason why the stuff is worth money, because nobody did. Like that's always the thing. My dad was born in 55, so he was right at the perfect age to buy. Like he had all of like the Marvel comics. Like 1963 was like the year to buy the Marvel comics. I'm like, Dad, where were you, man? Like that was your prime time. That was your prime time childhood years. You should have those like in the attic, somewhere. You should have had them. And of course, because nobody kept them, they're worth a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I wanted to talk to you about, like from like action figures to video games and stuff. But one thing I kind of want. What's that?
Where do you want to start? We can go ahead.
One thing I wanted to start with that I think your viewers would like to hear about is your thoughts on Target and their new policies. Would you like to start with that?
Okay. We can kind of, so in the chat, if you're watching, one person that knows all about that is Ziggy. Ziggy knows Sports Cards Daily in the chat. He's at Target on Friday morning. So what, Ziggy, if you want to throw your thoughts in, or anybody else that might be watching, if you have thoughts on the new Target policies, do you like them? Do you dislike them? Devon wants to know your opinion on that. I'm not
for me.
Yeah,
I experienced it firsthand. I went and got in line, my local Target, this last Friday morning. I was able to get and be like 7th in line, something like that. Got there a couple hours before they opened, and it went really well, actually. They got me onto a digital line, so then I can leave and come back. I didn't even have to wait there very long. And then when I came back, I was able to score a select mega box of football.
Nice. So I'm sorry, was that the one item that you were allowed to get, or was this before the policy? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can only get one item, you can only get one item, but luckily enough, I was able to drag somebody with me, so I got two of them.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
But that it is one item per household, and I wanted to see, like, what do you think about that policy, the one item per household?
Well, for collectors, it's probably great. I mean, if you're someone that is, trying to open a box, like trying to rip some wax, maybe with your son or something, or you just want it for yourself, you're a collector, you want to have one, then I think it's great for collectors to be able just to get their hands on something. I mean, for the people that are buying it to flip it, buying it to do that, I think the days are probably over, or at least for now, where you're on Facebook and you see the guy that's got 30 boxes in his garage of whatever product, and he's selling it for, 3 or 4 times or whatever. I don't see that. I mean, unless you're going into Walmart's, I don't know. I mean, I just haven't seen that as much. I remember last year, there was a lot of that on social media. I remember seeing that all over the place. And now I don't see it as much. I don't see much of that. As people are flexing with like 2 boxes, not 20 bucks.
I know. I'm honestly glad, because I think it leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I see videos and images of people just filling up their cart. And if there's people waiting in line behind them, they get nothing. Really? You're really going to do that? It just seems like a really bad practice where only one person ends up winning, essentially, and everybody is basically mad except for that one person or few people. And I really think that Target's trying to do their best to make it better. But again, another thing I wanted to ask you, you heard about the gun event that happened at a Target, right?
Was it some sort of like somebody had one on them or something? Yeah. I mean, I've heard of a few different things where there's brawls in the parking lot or whatever, or, there's, what? There was someone that drove into like a card shop, window or something and took all the product. I mean, think about if you think about it though, with how much cards have been selling for, it's not really that shocking that people are breaking into card shops or, with what that stuff sells for. It's too bad, but it's not a shock. I'm not shocked by it.
Exactly. And I think as a result, I don't know if you've seen or heard anything about, supposedly Walmart and or Target is going to stop carrying retail June 4th. Do you hear about that?
Well, yeah. So spoiler alert for my show that's coming out tomorrow at some point. I am going to address kind of the Panini, because Panini came out with a memo just kind of saying like, hey, we hear a lot of talk going around. Just want to let you know that like Walmart and Target are still our retail people. That's what we're doing. But yeah, I'm with you. I've also seen pictures at the Walmart where it says we're not selling trading cards for the time being. We're just suspending it or halting it. So who knows? I'm sure it's probably all regional and state by state and whatever.
I was actually wondering that too, if it was exclusive to a particular Walmart or Target that has bad behavior and not a national policy.
Yeah, and that's something that wasn't really outlined that I saw. It was very general to where it was just like Walmart and Target are our approved, distributors type thing or vendors or whatever. But it didn't go into all of that from what I saw. It did say that Target, it mentioned what kind of people already know about Friday mornings or when to buy cards for safety's sake. Target has adopted it. Didn't really say much about Walmart. Didn't say a whole lot about Walmart at all, which I thought was kind of interesting. But, so I don't know. I mean, I'll talk about it in the video tomorrow too. But, I think it kind of boils down to, if you think about what is Target and Walmart's main focus, I mean, think about what are they trying to accomplish in their main business? They want you to buy everything at their store. It's the same as Amazon. Amazon wants you to go on Amazon.com and order every possible thing that you need from them. And Walmart and Target want the same thing. So I'm sure for them, they're probably calculating, all right, we've got X amount of people that are here for sports cards. How many of them or their spouses or whatever are coming here and then going off and buying other things here? Because I don't think they really care that much. If you're just showing up to buy the sports cards, that's just one product at their store. I think what they're interested in is, are you buying cards and going and buying your groceries? What's your family spend? I think that's what they're interested in. So on that note, if you have people that are, if there's fights in the line and fights out in the parking lot over cards and there's not really that added benefit, then I'm sure that's where that particular Walmart or whatever is going to be like, yeah, let's scrap this. This is not worth it for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm speculating. I don't work at Walmart, so I don't know what the story is, but that's just kind of, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if it's going to be trouble for them and they're not really profiting, I think it's just a mess, because really they're not the ones that are responsible if product gets lost or stolen. It's just all on the distributor holdings. And man, I also wanting to ask you, I think that it's a problem, I think, for Target and Walmart. For management, they see a long line going out the door and a lot of customers that are coming in or just going into the parking lot, they see that line. They don't know it's for sports cards if they're not hip to that. And they think, oh, I don't want to wait in line to get in there to buy my groceries. And they don't know it's just for sports cards.
That's another good point. Yeah. Are those people dissuading other people from shopping there? That's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. I think that it's definitely something that happened when I was waiting in line. People were getting in line, not knowing it was for sports cards, just thinking they were waiting in line for it to open. And so they're like, oh, we can walk in. Oh, and then they walked in. So yeah, they think it's silly. They look at us. You guys are waiting for sports cards. They think we're all losers.
We're all crazy. You guys are nuts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What? Crazy.
That is.
Yeah. I wanted to say that also too, because it's becoming a problem. Do you think that maybe a solution might be a storefront inside Target and Walmart, kind of like a McDonald's or an optometry or a hair salon? The way they're kind of separate, they're like inside the store, but they're a store.
Yeah, I guess the answer would be, is there continued demand the way that it is now? Because like, if this is just like a 2 or 3 year thing where there's just massive demand for retail product, and then it kind of fizzles and we go back to something similar to what we had previously, then are they going to invest in, a Panini store inside of Walmart,
Right, exactly. Or a holding store. Why doesn't Holdings have a storefront?
Yeah, I mean, if it maintains, then yeah, they do think of something like that. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, yeah, I get it's all going to depend on how much they can make from that. Walmart's going to try to, they're going to try to profit off of every inch in their store, and Target's trying to do the same thing. So I'm sure if there's a way to profit by setting up some sort of Panini kiosk or some sort of thing, I don't know. Yeah, I mean.
But they would definitely want them to spend money on other products too, which I think was a good point on your end, that if they're just coming there for sports cards. That's not really something that they're going to be wanting all that much. They want them to spend money on everything. And you know how it is. People go there just for the sports cards. They dip. They're not there for everything else usually.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe have like the sports cards line that goes to the back of the store, so people have to walk back past all the other products, I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, but before we go any further, I also wanted to mention that I know right now where you're at, you can't see them, but what is the artist name of all the cards that you have painted in your background? What's that person's name?
Oh, it's my mother-in-law.
Oh,
yeah, it's my mother-in-law. She's my artist. Yeah,
she's great.
Thanks. Yeah, she enjoys painting, and she's she is nearing retirement. I don't want to age her because she's a beautiful lady, but it's something that she really enjoys doing, and she's kind of, it's something that kind of a stress relief for her, and she helps me out. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I really enjoy those. I really enjoy those a lot. You actually have something else too. It's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles thing on your wall. What is that?
I do. Yeah. One of the guys that watches the channel, Dex, he actually sent it to me. And what it is, he knew that he saw, I was pinging with him about, so I went through, I'm not going to call it a phase because I'm still looking at them. It's just that I'm not trying to buy 100. I've got what I want really, but what I wanted was 1988 Ninja Turtle, those action figures, those first series of action figures was 1988.
Yeah.
So I bought some in the box. So I've got some in the box, and I was asking him about it because he also buys action figures and then sends them off for AFA grading. So he kind of understands the action figure grading and gets all that.
Oh, wow.
And because he saw that I was buying those, he sent me that. And it's basically just like a signed picture by Kevin Eastman, who was like one of the original creators of Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah.
That's really neat. I like that. I like it a lot. I
Yeah.
like how you have this vast array of different of knowledge about different collectibles and properties, from sports to non-sports and cartoons and action figures. It's really quite the variety.
Listen, I'm just an 80s, 90s nostalgia geek. And that's what it is, really. That's really what fuels all of it. So like, and that's why it's all interesting. And when I see people that are collecting something from that period that I also have nostalgia for the same way that they do, then I'm interested in why they're collecting it. And then I'll learn about it, and then I'll talk about it on the channel or whatever. And that's what kind of fuels all of it. It's just my midlife crisis coming out in my channel. It's I just turned 40. So, this is how hey, there's worse ways to go about the midlife crisis. That's what I keep telling my wife.
Yeah. I mean, I just turned 38. So, I'm right there up there with you.
Yeah, you're right behind me.
Yeah, we grew up with the same stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, we're right there on the same level. Shifting gears, I wanted to mention, how do you feel about the basketball play-in and how they're doing it differently this year? Is that something that you like, you're interested in, or think is dumb, or like, how do you feel about it?
I kind of like the play-in idea. Yeah, I say try it out. I mean, let's see. I know it's funny. LeBron James was all for it, and now he's not for it because he's like, we're gonna have to play in now. Just to answer Brian's question here, Brian, I'm more of an and guy, not an or guy. So I'm Thundercats and He-Man. I'm the Thundercats and He-Man guy. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
I honestly can't wait to get to NBA playoffs. I feel like the last 25 games of the season have been just so boring because half the guys are injured or half the guys are sitting out or whatever. It's like, it's been a boring, I mean, the last 60 days has been pretty boring, I would say, in basketball. You kind of had like season starts, you're excited about stuff, but that mid-season lull, I just feel like that's been 2 solid months of that, and I'm ready to get to it. And I think that I'm not happy. I don't want to say that it's good that LeBron is injured and Kevin Durant is injured. I'm not saying that, but I kind of do like that there's some parity in there. There's like because honestly, like if LeBron and AD weren't battling injuries, it would just probably be another Lakers championship coming our way. Maybe the Nets would have something to say about it, but because of those injuries and just kind of the not knowing what's going to happen with them, it keeps the West is really kind of wide open. The East, right. I feel like everyone feels like the Nets are going to win the East, and I guess the shock will be if they don't. The shock will be, what would be interesting is if the Bucks actually, win the East, because everyone's like Giannis, Giannis cards have been down. Everyone's down on Giannis because he can't get over the hump. It would be really intriguing. That'd be a great storyline, if Giannis took the Bucks to the final. So I'm interested in kind of just seeing, how it all shakes out. I'm excited for playoff time. How about you?
Yeah, me too. I kind of think that if the Lakers do get into the 7th seed and they get eliminated, they get the short end of the stick, that's going to be some drama that I think a lot of people outside of Laker fans are going to really kind of have a good time laughing at their expense. But I honestly think that, I mean, I've become a Heat fan ever since the start of the bubble, whereas being from Southern California, I've generally liked the Lakers most of my life, but I don't know. The Heat have really caught my attention, and one player in particular, Tyler Hero, really like him a lot. I've been investing in his cards. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Tyler Hero. Got his jersey, and I was just watching him play here before the interview, and he's just doing some amazing things. A lot of people give him a lot of crap that are even Heat fans, but it's because of all this hype, and he's got cereal and rap song. I mean, the kid's 21.
He's got 20, but he's a kid.
Yeah.
He's a kid.
Yeah. He's a kid, and he's playing pretty darn good for a kid. And I think that he's got a bright future. So I'm all in on Tyler Hero.
I mean, that's part of the fun of the NBA prospecting is fun for that because there's so many great young players that the NBA in 5 years is going to be very interesting to see kind of where it all is in 5 years because there's a lot of great young talent.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go as far as saying that last year I didn't really make it out there and known, but I predicted before the playoffs started. I honestly, you're not gonna believe me, Dustin. I
Yeah.
predicted the Lakers and Heat would meet in the finals, and the Lakers would beat them in 6 games. And I know I'm probably in the comments, yeah, right, no way. But I swear I did. And ever since then, now I feel like maybe I should start betting on games or making predictions more often. But I mean, I don't do that. I've never bet on sports games. And ever since then, I just kind of felt maybe I should. But I just kind of think it's something that I've never really dabbled with. Do you like to bet on sports, Dustin?
I don't, I'm not really much of a gambler. I mean, I guess you could say, sports cards, buying and selling sports cards is, we're speculating. There's a lot, I do a lot of speculating, but I'd like to think that I do kind of, careful speculation. I'm buying a lot of the, Ninja Turtle stuff, the stuff that's never going to go down. No, I'm kidding. But I'm not the type, I went to Las Vegas with my wife years ago, and it's like, I didn't gamble once. Like, and that's like where you would think that you would go, like, you're there, like, why not try it? Why not just do something? We did like one slot machine. I'm just not much into it. But I like trying to predict. I'm just not going to put money on it. I might do a fun, like, a bet a buddy or something, a few bucks, but yeah, I'm not getting anything serious. How about you?
Yeah. No, like me, never. It's just, there's a lot of casinos around here in Southern California, but no sports betting.
Yeah, I know. I'm smart enough to not bet on my Saints. That's for sure. But I actually should have shorted the Saints the last 3 years. They just make me so.
Hey, so you talked about like how it's kind of been a lull with basketball. Do you think with this basically no off season, the way the previous season ended and the new season began, do you think that was a good thing or a bad thing for sports, for basketball cards?
Bad. I think it's bad. I don't think that we've had enough off season. I think that that's kind of where a lot of the excitement, a lot of the all that happens. And so, yeah, I mean, you had a very short off season, and then you're back into the season again. And typically, that's where prices usually kind of subside anyway, once you kind of get into the season. So yeah, no, I think that we need kind of a long basketball offseason. I think fans need a break, and I think players need a break. It's obvious when you've got LeBron, KD, and half of the NBA sitting out and waiting for the playoffs. I'm not saying LeBron is, LeBron's trying to get his team into the playoffs now, but a lot of guys are resting. They're taking time off. They're, taking minutes off. And I think that like everybody needs a break. It needs 4 months, 5 months, just a break to kind of let it all kind of settle, and then come back and do cards. I do think that basketball cards are going to be roaring again once we get back to October. September, October. I do think that. I could be wrong, but I do think that there's going to be a lot of excitement around the NBA stuff.
Do you think that they're going to start rising here with the playoffs starting, with any players that are in the playoffs?
Some of it, but I mean, my opinion is kind of the teams that aren't supposed to do anything that do something good, then I think you're going to see some spikes there possibly. But, I think that a lot of the stuff is already fairly baked in, too. But but everything has been kind of on a little bit of a slide. So, if you have, I don't know, the Clippers go off and maybe the Clippers are in the finals, then Kawhi stuff and Paul George will probably be what's being talked about. But it's going to be limited to the teams that kind of break out. And then also the teams that are eliminated, you'll see those kind of, so it'll be kind of a cascading thing, in my opinion. I think.
Right.
Yeah. And then you've got, guys like, Alex in the comments is talking about Zion. Yeah, I mean, he just got injured. His season's over. I haven't looked at his prices, so I don't know. And he's got so many different rookie cards. I'm sure there's probably some Zion cards that are up. Some are, who knows, kind of. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of probably one of the better times. It seems like it's one of the better times anyway to buy kind of those teams that are not making the playoffs, or the teams that get eliminated. There's usually a window there, to kind of get in.
Yeah. I'd say so. Another interesting thing about basketball cards I wanted to touch on real quick is, have you ever thought about the licensing with Michael Jordan and his absence of him being in Panini products. Have you ever thought about Panini like trying to buy the rights to Michael Jordan and get him on Prism cards or something like that?
Maybe, but it'd probably just be too expensive. And that's probably why a lot of like Jordan mem and a lot of, his autographs are so expensive because they're just limited to Upper Deck and he's not signing a million things. He never did. I mean, yeah, he's got a lot of stuff that's autographed, but like Kobe Bryant signed a lot of stuff. There's a lot of Kobe auto stuff, a lot more than MJ stuff, so, I mean, I guess they might make it would probably all just depend on the deal. Is there a deal to be made? Does it make sense for Panini? Does it make sense for Upper Deck? But I don't see it, but you never know. I guess you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're doing that. I think it's called the Goodwin Champions. Is that what it's called, Dustin? Where you can get an auto of Michael Jordan from that, I believe.
I've heard of that set, but I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about Goodwin Champions. Do you have those cards?
I don't. I've just seen pictures and I've heard people comment that about the licensing and say, oh, well, Michael Jordan, he's doing cards in that. So it's not like Upper Deck isn't using the licensing, but really not like Panini would, right? Panini's got a million sets. Upper Deck's got the one set.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I guess a lot of it's just going to boil down to, does the demand stay where it is for sports memorabilia stuff? Because it's not as if, a lot of the sports mem stuff was not like the prices we're seeing now is not what it was 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's really spiked hard. And so I guess that's just going to be the thing is this kind of a here to stay alternative asset, alternative investment, or is it kind of just a hill kind of that we go over where you have kind of a 3 to 5 year or a 3 to 10 year or whatever kind of, spike, and then maybe it subsides a little bit. That's what we'll have to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to think that it's not going to go on this downward trajectory and plummet and the bubble's going to burst like some people speculate that are naysayers. I'd like to think everything's just going to ride steadily up, but that's not exactly how the world works. We know that.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably go up and down. I think it's always going to be on the radar for people though. I don't think it also depends on how the companies handle it moving forward. How does Panini handle printing and how does Upper Deck handle it? Are they able to keep the scarcity? I mean, there's so many different variables with that. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
I also, before I forget, I want to say thank you so much that you do this subscriber spotlight, Dustin. This is really cool that you do this for your subscribers and you want to give them a little attention. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And for people that have not seen, so Devon, Kryptonite is the name of your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
So Devon also has a YouTube channel as well. Kryptonite, check it out. He's got card stuff. I've seen you've got some funny videos on there too. You've got a variety of different things. I just thought it was cool. You have a really cool kind of eclectic, some different stuff on there that I thought was fun. So definitely check out Kryptonite. And how'd you think of that name? I mean, that's such a just kind of goes, Yeah,
I mean, obviously from the comic books, the Kryptonite, the Green Crystal. And it's a play on words where I wanted it to be a name. I was trying to think of a moniker as a young teenager, and it just came to me. And I portray a Mandalorian character. That's basically what Kryptonite is. And I do my parody music videos, and I also do videos where I open up cards and talk about cards and other collectibles too. I recently got into stamps, Dustin, and I think that's kind of hard for me to admit it because it's kind of an old person thing, right? You'd associate stamps with old people and a dying hobby, but I just got into it because I inherited some stamps from an old family friend, and then I happened to win some stamps from a YouTube creator. He did a random giveaway, and I was the random winner, so I came up on a bunch of more stamps. So now I'm a stamp collector, apparently, Dustin.
That's awesome. Yeah. So is that something, are you going to look at, buying them and kind of, and researching more into it, or what are you thinking?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's funny because for every hobby, there's like a grading service. I'm sure from comics to cards to action figures. You told me
that too?
There's a stamp grading service. If you go to, I think stamps.com or something like that, And it's expensive. You wouldn't think that it would be expensive. It's like $25 a stamp, I think. And you got to be a member. Yeah, I'm like, Jesus. I mean, I'd rather go trade a card than a stamp. And it's stamps is tough. They're so small, and you could have two stamps that look identical, and they've got a minor detail that makes them different. And that difference is one being really rare, and the other one being near worthless. And it's tedious. You really got to have an eye for it and patience and be into identifying stamps from all over the world or whatever country you collect. So it's definitely not for everybody. It's a dying hobby, but I appreciate it for what it is, just like everything else.
Yeah, that's cool. So now, are you also, what other things are you collecting right now, or have you collected over the last year? Are you doing comic books or action figures or any of the other stuff?
Comic books for sure, and I've been wanting to talk to you about comic books. I love your opening. I've been watching you since before you had an intro to your video. That's how long I've been watching you.
That's
and
awesome.
Your intro is really cool. It's really neat.
Appreciate that.
For you. But in your intro, you're thumbing through an X-Men comic book, and I've always liked that little touch that you have, and I've always wanted to talk X-Men comic books with you.
Okay.
So let's have it. Well, who's your favorite X-Man, Dustin?
I think that Wolverine is probably my favorite X-Men, but I also like Professor X. I mean, I like a lot of them. It's hard to pick a favorite, but yeah, I would say between Professor X and I also just like the X-Men villains. I like Magneto and I like Sabretooth, and I think they have the coolest villains.
Mr. Sinister is really cool. He hasn't gotten his due yet, if you ask me.
I was actually looking at is it Fantastic Four Annual #1, the first appearance of Sinister Six? Is Sinister Six the same thing as Mr. Sinister, or are those two different things?
It's not. Yeah, the Sinister Six, that's a Spider-Man arch enemy group where there's six of his arch enemies team up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you would think that Mr. Sinister would make a nice addition, even if he was a seventh member. I'm sure they can make room for him.
Isn't the first appearance of Mr. Sinister the cover where like Wolverine is grabbing his head? Is that the one where there's like shoot, let me see if I can look that up. It's one where there's like Sonic. Oh, what is it? Anyways, we can move on. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know his first appearance. I just always thought he was a cool character. And if you ever watched the cartoon, I'm sure you watched the 90s X-Men cartoon.
It's on Disney Plus. So the kids watch Disney Plus, and then there's like a million episodes of X-Men from '92 on there. I'm like, yeah, that intro is awesome.
Great.
That X-Men intro is the best.
That show is amazing. For once I have kids, they're definitely getting a good dose of X-Men, the animated series, like all the time. Such a good show. One of my favorites.
Case Cards asked, Devon, where are you in Southern Cal?
I'm from the desert, Palm Desert, California. It is hot here very often. Yeah. And funny enough, I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan. One of my dad's friends growing up, kind of like an uncle. He liked football, whereas my dad, he didn't really care much for it. And that's where I started liking the Chiefs. He was a Joe Montana fan, and he liked the 49ers. And Joe Montana went to the Chiefs, and that's about the time I started liking football. So he started liking the Chiefs, and so did I, because I wanted to be just like him. And he was somebody I really looked up to, and I always liked the Chiefs since then.
That's awesome. Yeah, the Chiefs had a rough go of it, and now they're in the clear, man. Now they've got Mahomes, and they're cooking.
Yeah. I mean, I was through some rough years with the Chiefs, going like 1-15 when they got their pick, and they got the Eric Fisher lineman. And, man, they were at the bottom of the barrel. It was tough. It was rough, man.
Now they're on top. I think they'll be on top for a while. They're X-Men 90s cartoon is the closest to the comics we ever got. Fantastic show. Yeah. The intro is amazing. Sometimes I listen to that intro just for fun. Like,
me too.
Yeah.
I'll listen to a remix version of it. I mean, I think I might have had it as my ringtone for a second. It's great. Yeah. You can't get enough of that X-Men intro. It's too good. Yeah, I really hope, Dustin, you know that they're coming to the MCU. How do you feel about that? And when they come, do you think that that's going to spike prices for X-Men properties like Marvel cards and X-Men comic books?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I feel like I was backwards on some of this stuff. So I got back into the hobby about 3.5 years ago, and I bought sports cards. Like I told you, I got like the 88 Topps Bo Jackson graded. I got a Joe Montana rookie card, PSA 8. I got a Jim Brown rookie card, and I just picked up kind of random things, that I wanted as a kid that I just could never afford. I got a couple of early Jordan cards, but what I noticed it was a lot more fun. Sports cards were kind of moving along. Not a lot of volatility in 2018 for a lot of sports cards, but where there was volatility was comic books. There was a lot of so what was happening is you had all the Marvel movies coming out and people were speculating on who's the villain going to be and all that stuff. So I was buying comic books at that point, buying and selling comic books. That was fun. And then I got into sports cards as well, but more into comic books. Then I got out of comic books kind of towards the end of 19 and focused solely on sports cards from about like June to now, June of 19 to now, as I've just been heavy into it. And now I'm kind of circling back and going back to comic books because you're kind of seeing some more of that action. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to not, there's long-term branding with the MCU. They'll be making Marvel movies for the next 50 years. So, all those original comic books, it's not that they're always going to go up forever, but I feel like they're fairly safe. It's like compared to athletes that can get injured and everything else, it's like there's safety in a lot of those key books. So yeah, I think that the speculation with the X-Men coming and then, what's the new movie going to be and what's the spinoff going to be from that? Yeah, you're going to have some action on the comic books. I think so.
I mean, X-Men is already a popular property before entering the MCU. They've already had their movies, of course, but entering the MCU, I would think that there's room for growth, just like anything else. You would think there's room for growth, and despite them already being kind of pricey in some areas for their rare editions, rare issues, I think that they could definitely skyrocket when the trailer drops and you see Wolverine, the new actor that portrays him, or if it's Hugh Jackman that comes back. You want Hugh Jackman to come back, or you want to see somebody else?
I really liked Hugh Jackman. I mean, he kind of looks the part. I don't know if I don't think he's going to, though. I think they are going to go with someone probably younger. I would assume if they're going to have like the same Wolverine for 20 years or something, they probably want a guy that's, I don't know, early 20s or something, or 25. I don't know. Someone they can kind of start fresh with, I would assume. But I liked Hugh Jackman, though. I thought he was a really good Wolverine, but I do think they'll recast a lot of those guys. I like the guy. I'm drawing a blank. McAvoy for Professor X. I thought he was really good Professor X. I hope they keep him. I hope
me too.
Him. Magneto was an older guy. But they brought in the younger guy.
Right.
That guy was really good. Yeah, the latest movies. There's an older Magneto and a younger Magneto, but I can't draw a blank on the younger Magneto's name. But that guy's legit. I like that.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, they're all good. Patrick Stewart and is it Ian McKellen? Is that his name? Ian McKellen? I could be wrong.
Maybe. Yeah, I can't. I'm not the Hollywood. I don't know all the Hollywood guys, but yeah. I think that it's going to be relevant unless they just bomb. The movies are terrible. Yeah, Michael Fassbender. Michael Fassbender is the younger Magneto guy. Yeah, that guy.
You just did a Venom 2 trailer review, right? And I just watched that. And you said that you weren't too impressed with how they showed Venom. I have to be right there with you. It's just kind of weird, right?
Some of it was cool, and there's other parts where it's just like ho hum for me. Like it's not. Yeah, I don't know how much I like that he talks some. I don't know if I like him talking all the time. Like having a dual character with Tom Hardy. I don't know how much if I like that. If he talks a little bit, if he talks like here and there, I think it has more effect than if he's just kind of talking the whole time. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And then I think Woody is going to be great. I mean, I've always been a Woody Harrelson fan, and so I'm really looking forward to his Carnage. That should be good. I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, it's going to be good.
The thing is they've got endless storylines that they can go. I mean, even if they come up with nothing original, there's 50 years of Marvel and DC storylines that go back to where you can pull from all these things. And, I mean, it's endless. It really is.
Yeah.
If they came out with no new content and they just drew from the comics, they could do so much. So yeah, that's the part that's exciting about it. And it's nice to have a YouTube channel, throw up, talk about the new trailer, the comic books. It's fun.
Yeah, yeah. So do you think that Tom Holland being absent from it is going to make it or break it? Do you think that if they don't show any Spider-Man at all?
Oh, no, because I think there'll be enough of I think Carnage will be enough for this movie. I don't think they need to rush Spider-Man into it. I think that I think what they'll probably do is just drop little teasers. Like in the trailer, I watched a great channel that breaks down trailers. It's called New Rock Stars. You might have seen them, but what they do is they'll go, whether it's Mandalorian or Venom or whatever it is, they watch the trailer and they find all the little the Easter nuggets, all the little Easter eggs in there, and then they'll talk about this is tied to this, which is tied to that, and like Woody Harrelson smashes a spider, in the trailer.
I saw that. So
there's little, they'll probably have little Easter egg, type stuff, little teasers for Spider-Man. Maybe they'll show them, but they don't really need to. They can bring him in later. I mean, they're going to bring him in eventually because it's money. I mean, they're not going to lose. Yeah. They're going to make money. Sony will make a deal with Disney, and they'll make sure that they all come together at some point. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are at least hoping for maybe an end credit scene or something like that. Something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. They could just tie him in, kind of just have a little cameo somewhere. There's so much they can do, though. There's so many things they can do with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hopefully it's good. Switching it up now. Are you a big UFC guy, or are you just? I mean, they just came out with the UFC Prism. Is that something that sparks your interest?
I'm not really into it. Yeah, it's not that. I mean, I respect the sport, and I think that I like kind of the theater of it, I guess, with the McGregors of the world, with the and the just I like the competition of it, but I'm not a big follower of it. I can't say that I'm like I'm big into it. Is it something that you're into?
Well, I mean, I follow the UFC, and I've been taking a close look at these UFC Prism cards that just came out. They're really expensive at around $1,200 a box, $100 a pack. Yeah, and they're the first edition, so it might be something that might be worth a lot in the future because of that. And I'm wondering what your thoughts might be on something like that, because you look at the first edition of basketball. Is that 2012 Prism Basketball? Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those are really expensive.
Yeah, I don't. It's one of those spec things where you're right. It might be something where it's the first edition, it's the first Prism, and it's goes way up. It's just a lot of money. $1,200 for a box. So for me, I would have to. I'm not really someone that buys boxes, although, there is a lot of, sealed wax people that will buy the sealed wax, keep it, and then sell it down the road. So certainly could be something there. It's just highly, highly speculative with UFC. UFC is not as popular as basketball or football, or even baseball. So it is kind of a niche sport, but that doesn't mean that it can't go up down the line too. So I think it just depends. If you love the cards and you want to buy it to open it to collect the cards, I would just say go buy the singles. Just wait for the singles to come out. If that's what you want to do. If you're investing in it, then that's a different thing. Maybe you're buying and holding. But new product is just so expensive, right now. If it was like National Treasures UFC or exquisite UFC,
Oh my goodness.
If you were getting like McGregor's boxing glove on a card that's signed, then. And and that was $1,200 a box, and it's like, okay, well, maybe, but
you got some good ideas right there, Dustin. I think, if the higher ups are listening to you, they might be like going, oh, wow, this guy's got some good ideas.
Hold on, I just got to
work on that.
Oh, it's Panini. It's Panini. Oh, hey, Panini, how's it going? What? I don't want a job there. I don't want a job there.
Have my people talk to your people. All right, let's get it done. I think that I picked up some Colby Covington cards from Tops. Last time I was at a card show here in Southern California, there's one popular one. It's called Frank and Son Collectible Show, and
okay.
there was one vendor there that was doing UFC cards out of all. So
Yeah, I mean, look, it could have a soccer deal where it's like, soccer cards were $1, and then all of a sudden soccer cards were red hot, and maybe that's maybe that's UFC, and maybe that's in a few years. Maybe it's not now, but it's a couple years down the road. There's a big UFC blitz. Who knows? I mean,
there's definitely a blitz for soccer cards. That really caught me by surprise. I've never been a soccer fan myself, but I've seen the cards for sale on the shelves when I would be looking for baseball, basketball, and football, and I'd be like, soccer, not for me. But then I'd hear about the explosion. I'm like, oh man, maybe I should have picked those up. And it's like, I mean, I couldn't have seen that coming. I could not have predicted, even though it is a global sport. But still, I don't know why I didn't see that one coming.
Well, I mean, not many people did. That's why they were $1, or whatever. That's why they were really cheap. So yeah. It is what it is. 2020 was just a weird time in general, but for cards, it was like everything was lit on fire for a little bit.
Yeah. So grading. Wanted to talk to you about grading services. PSA, they're set to open up all their services July 1st, or some of them, or are they trying to open up everything by July 1st? Because I think if that's really what they're trying to do, that's a lot.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, yes. But what I was reading, it was more of like, we're going to start staging, kind of bringing out more service levels July 1st. That's how I read it. And their piece that they had put out, just talking about it, or it was an interview or something like that. But it was basically like, they're going to start there. Hopefully there'll be more than just a $300 option July 1st. That's the, but I don't think that they're going to, hit the ground running July 1st and everything's back to normal. I also don't think that there's, and I've said it a bunch of times, I don't think there might never be a $20 card PSA option again. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I don't think so. I think it might be, $40, $50 at a minimum to get a card graded. So which will make people more picky on what they're sending in and all that, which is probably not a bad thing, but I don't. So for me, I buy raw and sell raw, or I buy graded and sell graded. So I'm not a guy that has historically bought raw and then gotten them graded and then sold them. So I'm a novice when it comes to, the whole grading process. I just pay attention to kind of what grading companies are doing, because what they're doing, because I am buying and selling graded cards. So I want to pay attention to, which companies are in favor, which ones are not. And, what's PSA doing, what's SGC doing, BGS, et cetera.
The SGC, they just lowered their prices, I hear, from 75 to 30. Is that right?
Yeah, they did. I'm kind of the opinion, I don't really know that in the future it's going to make a whole bunch of difference if a card is in a BGS 9.5, an SGC 10, or a PSA 10. I don't know if it's gonna. I think right now there's a gap that I'm just not convinced that that's going to exist down the road. That like 5 years, 10 years down the road. I think that an SGC 10 is probably a really nice card. I mean, I don't think that it's like an SGC 10 is the equivalent of a PSA 9 as far as quality is concerned. I just don't believe that. I don't think that it's that they're that much better of a grading service. It's all those grades can be different no matter who's looking at that card. And I understand AI will come in and kind of change some things. I think all those companies will have an AI element to them over time. I think all three of them will. SGC kind of, I don't know if you would call it an AI thing, but they showed it on that video that sports card investor Jeff Wilson did. They do have that kind of scanning tool that takes a look, kind of a DNA look at that card, and they were able to see kind of like a wrinkle that you wouldn't be able to see, with the naked eye. So you can call that AI to some degree. It's a fancy tool that they're using. It's just going to boil down to what is is PSA going to always have that resale? I'm not convinced that they will always be the king of resale. I think it'll even out over time. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong.
No, I think you're absolutely right. HGA being the new hot thing on the block, they're reselling at a pretty good prices. Is that what you've been seeing, Dustin?
I haven't been paying attention to the resale on HGA. Yeah,
Mm,
I don't know. I really like the look of their slabs, but like I said, because I don't grade cards. For
mhm,
me, I haven't had an experience with them to where I can say like, okay, I've had this experience, and I like the look of their slabs though, and I like competition in that market. So I like what they're doing. But yeah, as far as resale goes and everything, it doesn't necessarily mean in the action figure grading space, there's AFA, which is kind of the PSA, and then there's CAS, which is also they're very well regarded, but they're a fairly
mm.
new company. They're only a couple of years in, from what I understand. It's not like they've been around for 20 years or whatever, just like AFA has. They're fairly new on the block, but they have respect.
Mm.
So it's not. I don't think a grading company needs to have a decade of grading to have necessarily favor in the hobby. I think there's a lot of other variables in that. So that's why it's so fun to watch, I guess. It's kind of like, can HGA gain market share? Will SGC gain some? Will BGS come out of nowhere? They're not talking to anybody. I haven't heard anything about BGS. They're just kind of doing their thing. Who knows? Maybe they'll break news tomorrow that they've got robots. They've got 25 robots back there that are doing all this stuff. Who knows?
SGC isn't old, right? That came around quite a while ago, didn't it?
SGC was founded around the same time. I think they might even be older than PSA. In the chat, maybe someone might know that, but they're not a new company. They've been around for 20 years.
Yeah, so if they're just as old, if not older, it's weird that they're not as respected as PSA and
So they are for vintage cards. So for
right.
vintage cards, yeah, if you're buying vintage, I think there's probably there might be a 1-to-1 ratio depending on what card you're looking at. But it's just the
Mm.
modern stuff and I don't know, there might be some people don't like the tuck slab, like the new SGC slab. I like it personally, but
I think it looks good.
some
I
people don't
mean,
like it.
yeah, I mean, black and white, how can you go wrong with that? The only thing that would upgrade from that is coordinating the colors like what HGA does. I think they do a great job in matching the colors. Kind of makes me wonder if other companies would do something like that, but I guess PSA is always going to have red on it, and SGC is always going to be black and white, apparently, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and there's other grading companies that are coming out. I interviewed Carson from Pure Graded X. There's a new company. There's a Black Mamba company. There's we've seen a few new companies that have come out, and yeah, I guess it's just a matter of can any of them kind of gain traction? Can they gain some sort of market share? There's so much demand right now. Who knows? But you know what? 15, 20 years ago, there was also a lot of grading companies that came out as well. So it just depends. They'll all kind of battle, and that's what's kind of. I mean, I like the competition. I think it's good. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that it would definitely be a problem if there was just one company. Then we would just have to do whatever they said. Essentially, if there was no competition. So competition is definitely good. More companies means better prices for the consumer.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for football being the off season right now, do you think that it's a good time to buy football cards?
Well, football never really cooled off like it was supposed to. It's kind of like football off season is when we're, when I'm buying and when everyone else is buying. I've only really been buying Tom Brady in the off season. And honestly, it's not like I've been getting amazing deals on Tom Brady stuff. I'm not paying all-time highs necessarily, but I'm not getting bargains on his stuff. And there might not ever be great bargains, frankly. But yeah, I think that there's going to be a window though. I think there's going to be a window that's coming. I think it's coming actually. It might even be starting now. I haven't really checked prices, but kind of that 30 days between, this is just I'm specking on this, May 15th to June 15th, I think is going to be kind of, there's a few weeks of a window there where we're post NFL draft and then we're pre-training camp, and preseason, so we're not right to the excitement of training camp and preseason. Plus we've got NBA finals and we've got hockey and we've got some other things as a distraction. So I think there'll be a few weeks there kind of in that NFL dark period where there's not a lot of NFL news. And that's where I'm already a football card collector, but I will be buying most likely, over the next few weeks.
So being a Saints fan, are you going to be collecting any of the quarterbacks that are going to be taking the place of Drew Brees?
it's hard to even imagine that that Drew Brees is not on our roster.
I know, right?
Really odd.
Yeah.
You know, I probably will not. I probably won't. It's not that I don't like Jameis and I don't like Taysom Hill, but I'm not doing as much kind of specking in NFL. I mean, some people are buying right now, they're buying position players to sell in August. One thing I'm really, really interested in, though, is that's kind of what's been happening the last couple of years. And I'm very curious to see if that sticks this year, meaning that there is a lot of people right now that are buying football to sell in July and August, because everyone talks about that as being like, it's exciting. It's an exciting time. Everyone's buying. And I'm just I'm really curious to see, because we now, I think the hobby is getting smarter. The hobby is getting smarter and smarter. And I'm not sure. I think there might just be a ton of supply that hits in August. So I don't know if that's going to be such a, as good of a selling season as it has previously been. I could be wrong, but
no, I totally agree, Dustin. I think that because everybody thinks that's a winning formula, everybody doing the same thing, flooding the market with all their cards right at that time, there's going to be such a good selection that they're not going to be getting the prices that they think they're going to be getting for that reason. I think a lot of people banking on that are not expecting everybody else to be doing the same thing when really they should be.
Yeah, and I've just been doing, I would say in 2021, I've been doing a lot more of buying the 80s basketball stuff, the vintage football stuff, the Tom Brady stuff. I've been just putting my money into more of kind of the longer term holds, as opposed to the stuff I'm buying to flip or sell. Not that I won't buy some of those guys. I'll probably spec on a few things just because it's fun. It's fun to like buy a few guys and be like, it's like fantasy football in that way. Oh, I'm in on these 3 or 4 guys. I picked up a few rookie cards. Let's see what happens. But I would say, 90% of I've heard people call it's like blue chips, where you're going after the goats and whatever. I've been doing in 2021, I've been doing mostly that stuff. Michael Ham, let me just tell you this, and you heard it here first, guys. Well, all right. So I've already said I think the Bucs are going to repeat, but if they don't repeat, it's because Jameis Winston is going to have the comeback revenge tour against the Bucs. Yeah. Jameis,
he's going to be in our fingers.
Yeah, I know. We've got the crowd. Yeah, we're gonna be eating W's this year, according to Jameis Winston.
How's he doing?
I really hope he doesn't do that in the huddle. Oh my God.
He's a character, that Jameis Winston.
But you know what? Honestly, like I saw an interview with him recently, and he was like, now he's got the chip on his shoulder, but will he do something with it? Like basically, he was like, hey, I was the number 1 pick. And then everyone just thinks I'm an idiot, and now I'm here and I'm trying to start. I don't know. I think he's gonna. I don't know. I think big things are coming out of Jameis. You're in on David prospect. Are you more on his patch auto stuff or high end base cards? Yeah. So do I have this? Hold on a second. Let me grab a card. Hold on.
All right. Okay.
Sit tight. If I get the token.
Is looking for a card.
Yeah. So I did pick up National Treasures. This is an auto. It's not a patch, but it is a rookie auto, and it was fairly low. It's not graded, but it is numbered out of 99. I talked about that on an episode here a couple weeks ago, where I'm less worried about a grade or a high grade if it is, if it's National Treasures numbered auto for a player I like. This card was under $300. So, I mean, this is one where if Baker Mayfield happens to have a Patrick Mahomes type season and the Browns go to the Super Bowl, this has the potential to be a few $1,000 where, like Patrick Mahomes stuff is, way up here. Baker's got a long way to go. But I guess to answer your question, Patrick, is I've been finding, and it doesn't always happen like this, but for certain players, sometimes the patch auto type more rare stuff is comparable in price to a PSA 10 base card. And that's where, I've been going with more of like the patch auto, the National Treasures or something like that. I don't have loads of National Treasures. I'm not saying that, but I'm just comparing those price points. And, that's how I decide. Football is weird though, because for example, PSA 10 base rookie cards for Baker Mayfield. A lot of people will say like, that's a base card. It's not scarce. It's not super scarce, but it's not like basketball. There's not 15,000 on the pop report like there is on, Zion. Okay. There's probably, I want to look it up now, but there's probably, I don't know, a couple thousand. I'm going to look it up because it's going to bother me. But my point is, in football, you don't have the same pop reports that you do in basketball.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
So I don't want to say
there's a lot of those Zion-based rookies out there.
Yeah, there's just so many of them that, and I get it. People will say it's, basketball is global and there's more demand. Yeah, but I mean, it's still a lot of cards. Like regardless, I mean, there are still a lot of them out there, and it's still rising. There's still more of them coming. So Baker. So Baker could be a quick flip, or he could be a hold for me. I'm fine with that, and I like to find players like that where it's like I could sell this in 3 months. Or I could hold it for a few years and I'm fine with that. That's how I decide on players a lot of times.
Yeah, I think that Baker Mayfield definitely has some room to grow in price, where there's a lot of hype when he first came in and then it died off. And now seems like he could be ready to make that jump back to Hypeville and everybody's all crazy about Baker again. I think he does have the potential, and you could be holding something that's worth a lot more here in the near future once football season gets started. Is there any other quarterback besides Baker that you'd be speculating on?
The problem is like some of the younger guys, I don't know why, like Baker Mayfield is just an example of a guy that just doesn't get much hobby love for whatever reason. I mean, I get it. Like he plays in a tough division. Frankly, there's a lot of very good QBs in the NFL right now. It's QB rich. It used to not be that they're like, literally almost every franchise has either a franchise QB or they've got a new rookie that they just drafted, like Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, who they think is going to be it. So it's not like it was, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago where half the teams didn't have a good quarterback. You've got a lot of guys. I know that, Dak Prescott's kind of interesting to me. I feel like the buy though for him would have been when he got injured. It would have been like back during the season last year. Because that if it's an injury, he's going to come back from. He's a quarterback for the Cowboys. He's got a big fan base. I guess the wild card would be, were they going to get a contract done with him? They did get a contract done with him. So, if you bought Dak the week after he got injured, you're probably doing pretty good. I don't know what the prices are, but it's a lot of it is timing. I've bought and sold Baker Mayfield for the last couple of years. I bought quite a bit of Baker when Freddie Kitchens was coach and they were 2-6. I bought, what I bought was, I bought 10 of his PSA 10 select premier silvers. I bought 10 of them for about $60 each.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think now they're up to maybe like $400 or $500, maybe a little bit more a piece. I have 2 left. I've got 2 left, but that's kind of where, if there's a guy that you really like and the team starts off horrible and then the prices go down, I'm a buyer. That's when I'm getting in. If it's a QB that I really like, maybe the team's just facing the meat of their schedule up front, that's a buying. To me, that's a buying opportunity. That's what I look for.
Yeah. Yeah. But when it comes to basketball though, and somebody like Zion who's hurt right now, because there's such a big population with his cards, even though they're dipping, do you think that right now would be a good time to buy Zion using that same theory, even though it's a high pop?
Unless, and that kind of goes back to, is the market getting smarter? Because, like the thing I just said about, if a guy gets injured or the season is over, that's really kind of the great buying time, because that's where people forget about them. And then you have to be okay with sitting on those cards until the next season cycle. But a lot of people are doing that now, though, to where I just don't know where you would think that now would be a great time to buy Zion. They're not going, from what I don't think the Pelicans are going to the playoffs. So yeah, there's not really much going, he's injured. There's not really much to talk about with him. I haven't watched his cards, but yeah, over the next couple of weeks, probably a good time to buy, but there might be a lot of other people that are thinking the exact same thing. Like, now's the time to get Zion, before that, just to get ahead of it, so.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They've been going down, but everybody's of course, looking for the bottom, but who knows how far they're going to dip.
And it depends on what you're doing too. If if you're looking to just get kind of, you're buying and then you're buying and then you're selling quickly for a smaller return. Because some people are buying and they want to double their money. Maybe that's the goal.
Right.
So, if that's the goal, then you might have a different thought than if you're just like, hey, if I get a 25% increase, net after what I've paid, then great. And then I'll just put that into something else. It all just depends on what what your goal is there.
I'm more along the lines of your style, Dustin. I know you preach the more longer hold than a quick flip. And I'm right there with you, especially with Tyler Hero. He's definitely not a quick flip for me. That's somebody I'm investing in for the long run.
Well, it depends, though. It depends, because I wouldn't say that there's a lot of really good short-term plays. And you have to think, too, there's a lot of really good players that didn't pan out long-term that looked really good early in their career. So, like, for long-term holds for me, it's Hall of Fame players, it's GOATs and stuff like that. I would say that Luka is probably my only, he's probably the youngest player that I'm long-term holding. But outside of Luka, there's not a lot of guys, but maybe Tyler Hero is that guy for you though. It's all kind of who you like. And he could be that next guy. You never know. That's what's fun about it.
He is for me. I know like a lot of people are really big on Trae Young, and that's the same class as Luka, right?
Yep.
And people are probably thinking that he's maybe a future Hall of Famer. How do you feel about Trae Young? Are you big on him?
I think people look at him and they think like Steph Curry part 2. And I just don't know if he's going to be that good. It's hard to be that good. I mean, Steph Curry I think he's an all-timer. I don't think that there's going to be too many like him, but Trae Young is kind of in that mold. It's a small guard, that can shoot the lights out. But I don't know. I mean, Steph Curry's got multiple championships. Is Trae Young going to have multiple championships? I don't think that, unless Trae Young ends up playing longer than, Steph, but Steph seems to be fairly healthy. I think, he should be able to play for a while. I think he's going to end with all the 3-point records, and I don't think anyone's ever going to touch him, so Steph was a generational player to where, he changed the whole way NBA teams play basketball. I mean, the Warriors won championships just shifting to that 3-point game with him and Clay Splash Brothers and Draymond playing really good defense, but it was literally just like, we're going to rain threes on you. And if we make 48%, we're going to win every night, and that was kind of it. That was the strategy. And that's how they did it. I know, of course, Durant helped them get one, but they, one title, but they had already won one before Durant, they'd already won before Durant got there. So, so Steph kind of changed everything, with that. And now you got bigs shooting threes, now you've got Joel Embiid shooting, 10 threes a game or whatever,
Sometimes it's a little much for me, because especially when I'm watching the Heat play, and Kelly Olynyk used to play for them. He's not on the team anymore, thank God, but man, he would be just jacking up these threes. I'm like, why doesn't this guy go down and rebound? But it's just how the NBA is now. They're centers, big men, everybody's shooting threes. And when they don't, it's like, why don't you? Oh, I don't want to. It's like, it's kind of rare when you don't. Have you noticed that, Dustin? And when it's usually a choice on the player that I'm going to make the decision that I do not want to shoot threes, mostly because there's so many other people that want to do it. Let them do it. I don't have to worry about it. And like Jimmy Butler, for example, would be somebody that would fit that mold, where he doesn't want to put up a three.
Yeah, it's interesting. The NBA it's definitely changed over time, for sure. It's definitely changed. Well, hey man, we're at almost an hour and 15 minutes. This thing is, I've really enjoyed this talk, because we've just been cruising through, and just over an hour flew by. I really appreciate you coming on. This has been fun. We'll have to do it again sometime for sure. And I appreciate you watching the channel for a year. You've been sticking with me, so I appreciate it. Guys, if
I'm a loyal fan. I think that you're great, Dustin. You do a lot for the sports collecting community, and beyond that too, with comic books. And we didn't get a chance to really talk about Marvel cards and some other things that I wanted to mention, video games. There's so many cool things that you like, that I like, and I will definitely, if you want me to be on your show, I'd be more than happy to be on your show.
Yeah, let's do it again. Let's definitely do it again. Absolutely. And guys, check out Kryptonite is Devon's YouTube channel. Give him a subscribe and check out his stuff. He's got some good stuff on there. And but yeah, thank you very much for joining, and we will talk to you again later, guys.
All right.